Psalm 10 opens with one of the most honest and desperate questions in the entire Bible. Why, Lord, do you stand far off? Why do you hide yourself in times of trouble? This isn't theological theory. This is raw human experience. David is watching wicked people prosper while righteous people suffer. He sees the proud hunting down the helpless, evil schemes succeeding, and God appearing to do nothing about it. Maybe that's your reality right now. Maybe you've been praying for months or years about a situation, and God seems silent. Maybe you're watching people who mock God succeed while you struggle. Maybe you're beginning to wonder if God even cares about justice anymore. If that's you, then Psalm 10 contains the prayer strategy you've been looking for. Because David doesn't just complain about God's silence, he develops a prayer technique that breaks through heaven's apparent indifference and forces God to show up with unmistakable power. This isn't about manipulating God or demanding things from him. This is about understanding the specific prayer approach that moves God from seeming absence to overwhelming presence, from apparent silence to thunderous intervention. David starts by presenting detailed evidence of the problem to God. He doesn't just say, "Bad things are happening." He builds a comprehensive case. In his arrogance, the wicked man hunts down the weak. He boasts about the cravings of his heart. He blesses the greedy and reviles the Lord. In his pride, the wicked man does not seek him. In all his thoughts, there is no room for God. Notice David's strategy. He's not just venting, he's documenting. He presents specific evidence of wickedness, detailed descriptions of how evil people operate, and clear examples of their contempt for God. David continues building his case. The wicked prosper in their ways. They sneer at all their enemies. They think they'll never be shaken. Their mouths are full of lies and threats. They murder the innocent in secret places. They say, "God will never notice." This is strategic prayer presentation. David is essentially saying to God, "Look at the evidence. See how they mock you. Notice how they hurt your people. Observe how they act like you don't exist." When you feel like God is hiding, don't just ask him to help, present him with evidence. Show him the specific ways evil is prospering, the particular injustices happening, the detailed mockery of his name. But David's real genius comes next. He moves from presenting the problem to challenging God's character. Now David does something that most believers would never dare. He directly challenges God's character in verses 12 to 13. "Arise, Lord, lift up your hand, O God. Do not forget the helpless." Why does the wicked man revile God? Why does he say to himself, "He won't call me to account"? David is essentially saying, "God, your reputation is on the line. People are saying you won't do anything about this. They're betting that you don't care enough to intervene. They're mocking your power and questioning your justice." This is bold prayer that borders on accusation. Arise. Stop being passive. Lift up your hand. Take action now. Do not forget the helpless. Remember your people. Why does the wicked revile God? Your honor is being attacked. David understands something crucial. God is moved not just by our needs, but by challenges to his character and reputation. When wicked people act like God is powerless or uncaring, it provokes divine intervention. Sometimes the prayer that gets God's attention isn't, "Please help me," but, "God, they're saying you can't or won't do anything about this. They're betting against your power and mocking your justice." But David's masterstroke comes next. He reminds God of who he really is. In verses 14 to 16, David shifts from challenging God to declaring God's true identity. "But you, God, see the trouble of the afflicted. You consider their grief and take it in hand. The victims commit themselves to you. You are the helper of the fatherless. Break the arm of the wicked man. Call the evildoer to account for his wickedness that would not otherwise be found out." David stops questioning and starts declaring who God really is. You see the trouble. You're not blind to suffering. You consider their grief. You care about pain. You take it in hand. You personally handle injustice. You are the helper of the fatherless. You defend the defenseless. Then David makes specific demands based on God's character. Break the arm of the wicked. Destroy their power to harm. Call the evildoer to account. Bring them to justice. For wickedness that would not otherwise be found out. Expose their hidden sins. This is the prayer formula that forces God out of hiding. Present the evidence, challenge his reputation, then declare his true character and make specific demands based on who he is. When God seems silent, Remind him of his own nature. Declare who he really is. Make requests based on his character, not just your needs. And then comes David's final masterstroke, the victory declaration that seals the deal. David concludes with verses 17 to 18, making a declaration that changes everything. You, Lord, hear the desire of the afflicted, you encourage them, and you listen to their cry, to defend the fatherless and the oppressed, in order that mere mortals may no longer terrorize them. David doesn't end with begging, he ends with declaring God's inevitable response. He speaks as if the victory is already accomplished. You hear the desire, present tense, not future hope. You encourage them, active comfort happening now. You listen to their cry, ongoing divine attention. But the most powerful part is the purpose statement, in order that mere mortals may no longer terrorize them. David reveals God's ultimate goal, to end the terrorism of the wicked against the innocent. This isn't just about solving one problem, it's about establishing God's justice system on earth. When you pray with this understanding, you're not just asking for personal help, you're participating in God's plan to establish justice and end oppression. This is how you force God out of hiding. You align your prayers with his ultimate purposes, remind him of his character, and declare his victory as if it's already accomplished. Maybe you've been stuck in a season of God's apparent silence. Maybe you've been praying politely while evil seems to prosper around you. Maybe you need to break through heaven's silence with a prayer that demands God's attention. Here's David's hiding-breaking prayer formula. Step 1. Evidence presentation. Present God with specific, detailed evidence of the injustice you're facing. Step 2. Character challenge. Remind God that his reputation is on the line, people are betting against his power. Step 3. Identity declaration. Declare who God really is based on his character and past actions. Step 4. Specific demands. Make clear requests based on God's nature, not just your desperation. Step 5. Victory declaration. Speak your deliverance as if it's already happening. Step 6. Purpose alignment. Connect your situation to God's ultimate plan for justice on earth. Stop praying polite prayers that heaven can ignore. Start praying bold prayers that force God to respond to challenges against his character and reputation. When you pray like David, you're not just asking for help, you're calling God to be who he really is and do what he's already committed to do. Your situation isn't just about you, it's about whether God's character and promises are true. Pray accordingly. David's hiding-breaking prayer didn't just get God's attention, it moved God from silence to overwhelming intervention, from apparent absence to undeniable presence. If you're in a season where God feels silent and you need him to show up powerfully, comment, "Show up God," below and share what situation needs divine intervention that breaks through heaven's silence. And if you've ever experienced God breaking his silence in your life, if you've seen him show up after a season of hiding, share your breakthrough story below. Your testimony might give someone else the courage to pray the bold prayers that force heaven's hand. Hit like if you're ready to stop praying polite prayers and start praying bold ones. Subscribe for daily breakthrough strategies, and remember, God's silence isn't his absence. Sometimes he's waiting for prayers bold enough to challenge his character and remind him of his promises. Your breakthrough is coming. Heaven's silence is about to be shattered.